that we need to recognize and act to acknowledge the nuances and diversity within what we already have protected and promoted, marketed even, as heritage districts with a racial tag. And I would say that while this is, perhaps was viewed necessary in the 1980s when this was first launched in order to be marketable, I think we have come at a juncture in our history where we can be, a more nuanced and sophisticated enough to resist the mono-racial framing that does not even accurately reflect the true histories of the diverse societies that dwell within these heritage districts. Now, we go back to the roots of this framing, racial framing. This is the Urban Renewal Department, the predecessor of the Urban Redevelopment Authority, URA. So at that time in 1970, before 1974, it was still a department within the HDB, Housing and Development Board. For those of you who are not from here, are not local, or you do not know about HDB, HDB is the housing and the authority that builds housing, public housing in Singapore. So the Public Housing Authority. So at that time, the Urban Renewal Department was tasked with the rehabilitation of the old city. It had to demolish shop houses and then build HDB complexes, the ones that you see around you today, a few of the public housing complexes. But it had a dual function. It also, besides that kind of urban renewal, it had another form of urban renewal job, and that was to what is called rehabilitate. This term is actually taken from the United Nations team, where rehabilitate initially meant to protect a place by repairs, selective repairs. But there is a new input that the URD decided to imbue upon the places it seeks to rehabilitate, and that is to highlight the instant Asia image of Singapore. And that had to do with, of course, tourism. If you can read the text, it's talking about depicting Chinese culture in this particular area, depicting a Malay culture in this area. So, in fact, if we were to zoom in, it's got to do with this. So similar treatment to highlight the instant Asia image of Singapore will also be undertaken in a typically Malay area, Indian area, etc. So this was the very early, this is 1970, this is way before the 1984 and 1989 launch of the heritage districts. Now, you will always hear in textbooks and otherwise that this has historical basis, and always you are told, oh, it's, we had Jackson Plan, we had a colonial divide and rule segregation. That's entirely incorrect. If you refer only to this map, then you couldn't be more wrong. Now, this map tells you, for instance, look, it confirms it, right? I mean, this is Chinatown. And then, well, this is supposed to be Kampung Glam. It doesn't have that name in this particular map, but it's correct because it's supposed to be Arabian and Islamic, as you will be told. Now, this one is ignored because it was entirely demolished. Now, there was a Chulia Kampung here, which is today the area behind Central. Yeah? But Little India is over here. So there's something quite different, but this will still be used as the basis. This is where, if you're wondering where the heritage districts today are, that's Little India. This is what is protected as Kampung Glam. These are the districts that together make up Chinatown. Kereta Air, Telok Air, Bukit Pasoh, and Tanjung Pagar.